and actually liked the person staring back at you. Not just your appearance, but your choices, your habits, your life. Too many people can't answer that question honestly, and that's why they feel empty, no matter how much love they get from others. Here's the hard truth. The most important relationship you will ever have isn't with your partner, your friends, or your family. It's with yourself. Before the messages, before the validation, before the attention, there's you. And if that relationship is broken, nothing else in your life will feel right. You can have the best job, the most exciting romance, and all the material success in the world. But if you don't love yourself, it will all feel temporary. Self-love isn't selfish. It's survival. It's setting a standard for how you deserve to be treated and refusing to negotiate it. It's learning to have your own back when no one else does, to protect your energy when the world tries to drain it, and to believe in your worth even when you're surrounded by people who can't see it. In this episode, you're going to learn how to love yourself more than anyone else, not in a way that closes you off from the world, but in a way that makes you stronger, calmer, and more unshakable. Because once you stop abandoning yourself, you'll stop accepting less than you deserve from everyone else. 1. How to build a loving relationship with yourself. When
Fill it, shut it, forget it. एक रास्ता है जिंदगी.
1. How to build a loving relationship with yourself. When was the last time you felt proud of yourself, not for what you achieved, but simply for who you are? Most people don't think about this, and that's why they end up chasing love from everyone else while neglecting the most important relationship in their life, the one they have with themselves. You can't escape yourself. No matter where you go, what you do, or who you're with, you take yourself with you. And if that relationship is broken, nothing else will ever feel right. The truth is, self-love is not an accident. It's not something that magically appears when life is going your way. It's something you deliberately build, just like any strong relationship, with effort, attention, and consistency. Think about how you treat the people you deeply care for. You listen to them, you show them respect, you give them patience, and you forgive their mistakes. Now be honest, do you give yourself that same level of care? The hard reality is that most people speak to themselves in ways they would never speak to someone they love. They replay their failures over and over. They call themselves names when they make a mistake. They hold themselves to impossible standards while giving endless understanding to others. If you want to build a loving relationship with yourself, you have to change the way you talk to yourself. Replace, "I can't believe I did that," with "I'm learning and improving." Replace "I'm not good enough" with "I'm still becoming the person I want to be." The language you use shapes how you see yourself, and your mind believes the words you repeat. But self-love is more than just positive self-talk. It's about keeping your own promises. If a friend constantly broke their word to you, cancelled on you, and didn't show up when you needed them, would you trust them? Probably not. And yet, so many of us do this to ourselves. We say we'll start exercising, then skip it. We say we'll stop talking to someone toxic, then let them back in. Every broken promise chips away at self-respect. You rebuild that respect by keeping even the smallest commitments, getting up when you said you would, finishing the task you started, honoring the boundaries you set. Another key part of this relationship is spending intentional time alone, not scrolling endlessly, not drowning in noise, but actually being with yourself. This can be uncomfortable because when you're alone, there's nowhere to hide from your thoughts. But the truth is, you can't love someone you don't truly know, and you can't know yourself if you never spend time with yourself. Go for a walk without headphones. Take yourself out to eat. Sit in silence and ask yourself what you really want out of life. And just like in any other relationship, forgiveness is essential. You cannot have love without forgiveness. That means letting go of the mistakes you've been punishing yourself for. It doesn't mean pretending those mistakes were okay. It means deciding they no longer get to control you. Every time you forgive yourself, you open space for growth instead of guilt. Over time, these actions change everything. You start to feel like you have your own back. You stop chasing validation from people who can't give it to you. You stop accepting less than you deserve. And something amazing happens. You begin to move through life with a quiet confidence. You speak more clearly, you walk with more purpose, and you no longer feel the need to explain your worth to anyone. A loving relationship with yourself is the foundation of all the others. If you respect yourself, you'll demand respect from others. If you value yourself, you'll stop letting people treat you like you're disposable. And if you truly love yourself, you'll never again beg for the kind of love you can already give yourself in abundance. 2. Why self-love is the foundation of true happiness. What if I told you that every moment of happiness you've ever felt, every burst of joy, every peaceful sigh, has been filtered through the way you see yourself? Think about it. Two people can have the exact same life circumstances, yet one feels deeply content, while the other feels constantly unfulfilled. The difference isn't luck, it's self-love. Without it, happiness is always temporary, always fragile, always dependent on something or someone outside of you. We're often told that happiness comes from achievements, relationships, or possessions. Get the promotion, find the perfect partner, buy the dream home. Then you'll finally feel complete. And yes, these things can bring excitement. But without self-love, the feeling fades, and you're left chasing the next big thing, hoping it will finally fill the gap. It never does.
हम में से ज्यादातर लोग क्यों इंग्लिश नहीं बोल पाते? हमारे साथ बात करने के लिए कोई नहीं है, इसलिए आपको सुपरनोवा एआई यूज करनी चाहिए, क्योंकि अगर आप बात नहीं करेंगे तो इंग्लिश कैसे सीखेंगे?
It will finally fill the gap. It never does. Why? Because happiness built on external things is like building a house on sand. The moment those things change, and they always do, the entire structure collapses. Self-love is the solid ground. It's the fact you stop looking for permission to feel good about your life. You stop waiting for others to validate your worth before you allow yourself to be happy. It's like turning on a light inside you that no one else can switch off. Even when life gets hard, and it will, you still have that inner stability, that quiet confidence that you are enough. But here's the truth most people avoid. Building self-love requires unlearning years of conditioning. From an early age, many of us are taught that our worth depends on our performance, our appearance, or how much we please others. We're rewarded for fitting in, for meeting expectations, for being good in someone else's eyes. Over time, this creates a dangerous habit. We start outsourcing our happiness. We forget that we have the power to give it to ourselves without anyone's approval. True happiness begins when you reverse this pattern. It's when you wake up in the morning and decide, I don't need today to go perfectly for me to feel good about myself. It's when you can sit alone and still feel whole. It's when you can receive love from others but not depend on it to survive emotionally. Self-love doesn't make you arrogant. It makes you free. It allows you to enjoy the highs without clinging to them and to endure the lows without falling apart. And here's the thing. When your happiness comes from self-love, everything else in life improves. Your relationships become healthier because you're no longer entering them from a place of need or desperation. You can love others without losing yourself in them. Your work becomes more fulfilling because you're not constantly chasing recognition. You're doing it because it aligns with your values. Even your free time feels richer because you're not trying to escape from yourself. You're actually enjoying being you. The mistake most people make is thinking they can skip self-love and go straight to happiness. It's like planting flowers in toxic soil. They might bloom for a moment, but they won't last. Self-love is the soil. It's what makes joy sustainable. Without it, you're always at the mercy of circumstances. With it, you become unshakable. And perhaps the most beautiful part, with it, you become unshakable. And perhaps the most beautiful part, self-love is something you can start building today, right now, in small ways. By speaking kindly to yourself, by honoring your needs without guilt, by setting boundaries that protect your energy. Every time you do these things, you strengthen the foundation, and happiness stops being something you chase and starts being something you live. 3. Setting boundaries without feeling guilty. Why is it that the moment we try to protect our time, our energy, or our peace, we start feeling guilty? Why do so many of us say yes when every part of us is screaming no? The answer is simple but uncomfortable. We've been trained to believe that putting ourselves first is selfish. And so, we sacrifice our well-being for the comfort of others, thinking it makes us good people, when in reality, it just makes us exhausted, resentful, and disconnected from ourselves. Boundaries are not walls. They are doors. Doors that you have the right to open and close based on what is healthy for you. Without them, life becomes chaotic. People start expecting more than you can give, and you start giving more than you can handle. Over time, you lose your sense of self. You become so used to meeting everyone else's needs that you forget you have your own. And here's the cruel part. The more you give without boundaries, the less people value what you give. Think about it. The friend who's always available at any hour, the co-worker who never says no, the family member who constantly sacrifices their own plans. These people are rarely respected more because of their constant availability. In fact, they're often taken for granted. Boundaries don't push people away. They teach people how to treat you. The guilt you feel when setting a boundary isn't proof that you're doing something wrong. It's proof that you're breaking an old pattern. That uncomfortable feeling is just your mind adjusting to a new way of living. You've been programmed to believe that your worth comes from how much you give. So when you start protecting yourself, it feels like you're taking something away from others. But in reality, you're giving them something far more valuable. The best version of you, not the drained, resentful version. Setting boundaries also means being okay with disappointing people. You cannot live a life of self-respect and please everyone at the same time. If someone's love or respect for you depends on you overextending yourself, then it's not real love or respect. It's dependence and control. A person who truly cares about you will not punish you for having limits. Here's the truth. Boundaries don't just protect your time, they protect your identity. Without them, you'll say yes to so many things you don't want that you'll start living a life that doesn't feel like yours. And when you lose touch with who you are, self-love becomes impossible. You cannot love a version of yourself that's constantly betraying your own needs. Practical boundaries can be as simple as not answering calls after a certain hour, saying no to events that drain you, refusing to engage in conversations that are toxic, or taking time for yourself, even if others don't understand. The key is consistency. A boundary you set but constantly break isn't a boundary. It's a suggestion. The more you practice setting and keeping your boundaries, the more natural it becomes. And something magical happens. Your guilt starts to fade. You begin to realize that the people who truly matter respect your limits, and the ones who don't were only in your life because you didn't have any. You stop feeling bad for protecting your peace because you finally understand it's the only way to live authentically. In the end, boundaries are acts of self-love in action. They say, I value myself enough to protect what matters to me. And when you live this way, your relationships improve. You start attracting people who respect you for who you are, not for how much you can give without limits. And most importantly, you stop betraying yourself for the sake of others and start building a life that feels right, not just one that looks right. 4. The power of saying no to protect your energy. When was the last time you said no without giving an excuse, without apologizing, without feeling like you had to justify it? For most people, that's rare. We live in a culture that celebrates busyness, overcommitment, and the idea that being constantly available is a sign of value. Every time you say yes to something that drains you, you're saying no to yourself. And over time, those stolen moments, that depleted energy, and that silent resentment will cost you more than you realize. Saying no isn't about rejecting people. It's about protecting the most precious resource you have, your energy. You can always make more money. You can rebuild relationships. But once your energy is gone, so is your ability to show up fully in life. Without it, you can't create, you can't connect, you can't even enjoy the things you've worked so hard for. Energy is your life force, and if you don't guard it fiercely, the world will drain it without hesitation. The problem is, most people think that saying no will make them selfish, rude, or unkind. They imagine others labeling them as difficult or uncaring. But here's the truth. People who truly respect you will also respect your no. It's only the ones who benefit from your lack of boundaries who will try to make you feel guilty for protecting yourself. And that's the clearest sign that the no was necessary. Think of your energy like a bank account. Every commitment, every conversation, every problem you take on, it's a withdrawal. If you never say no, you'll eventually run into emotional bankruptcy. The symptoms? Burnout, resentment, loss of motivation, even physical illness. Your body and mind are constantly warning you when you're giving too much, but if you ignore those signals, the cost will be far greater than you expect. The Stoics understood this well. Marcus Aurelius once wrote about the importance of guarding the inner citadel, the fortress of your mind and soul. Not every battle is worth fighting, and not every invitation is worth accepting. Saying no is your way of closing the gate before an unnecessary siege drains your strength. But here's the thing. The first few times you say no, it will feel uncomfortable. You've been conditioned to believe that your worth is tied to how much you do for others. Breaking that pattern means facing the discomfort of change. That momentary awkwardness, it's not a sign you're doing something wrong. It's proof that you're reclaiming control over your life. Practical ways to start. Before you agree to anything, pause and ask yourself, does this align with my priorities right now? Will this energize me or drain me? If I say yes, what will I have to say no to in return? These questions shift your focus from pleasing others to protecting yourself. And over time, you realize something powerful. The world doesn't end when you say no. The people who truly value you adjust. The ones who don't, They quietly fade away, making room for relationships that are healthier and more balanced. When you start saying no with confidence, something changes inside you. You begin to trust yourself more. You stop over-explaining. You stop feeling like you owe everyone access to your time and energy. And you start making decisions that leave you feeling lighter instead of weighed down. Ultimately, saying no is one of the purest forms of self-love. It says, I respect my time, my health, and my peace enough to protect them. And when you live this way, you realize you're not shutting people out. You're simply choosing who and what gets to be part of your life. You're not rejecting the world. You're just making sure you don't reject yourself in the process. 5. Letting go of people who don't value you. How many times have you stayed in someone's life long after they stopped treating you like you matter? How many times have you made excuses for their behavior, convinced yourself they'll change, or told yourself that maybe you're just expecting too much? Here's the uncomfortable truth. Every moment you spend holding on to people who don't value you is a moment you're stealing from yourself. Letting go is hard, not because we don't know the person is bad for us, but because our hearts get attached to the idea of them, to the memories, to the potential, to the way they made us feel once upon a time. We hold on, hoping they'll return to that version of themselves, ignoring the reality that the present version is nothing like it. They collide. Because you can't claim to value yourself while you continue to invest in someone who has shown you, through their actions, that they do not. The truth is, when someone truly values you, you don't have to question it. You don't have to decode mixed signals, chase them for attention, or shrink yourself to fit into their comfort zone. Their respect, their care, and their presence are consistent. Anything less than that is not love. It's tolerance, convenience, or habit. The Stoics understood the importance of detachment. Epictetus taught that we suffer not from the loss itself, but from our attachment to the illusion of control over it. We believe that if we just try harder, give more, or change ourselves enough, we can make someone see our worth. But here's the thing. Your worth is not up for negotiation. It exists whether someone else recognizes it or not. When you let go of people who don't value you, it's not about anger or revenge. It's about creating space for relationships that nourish you instead of draining you. It's about finally having the energy to pour into your own growth, your own joy, and your own peace. And yes, there will be a void at first, a silence where their chaos used to be. But in that silence, something beautiful happens. You start to hear yourself again. One of the hardest lessons in life is realizing that some people are only meant to be part of a chapter, not the whole story. Holding on past their exit point doesn't keep the story alive. It just keeps you stuck in a plot that's going nowhere. And the longer you stay there, the more you delay the chapter you actually deserve. Practically speaking, letting go means more than just physical distance. It's emotional detachment. It's not stalking their social media. It's not replaying old conversations in your head. It's catching yourself when you start to rewrite the past in a way that makes them look better than they really were. It's choosing reality over nostalgia, truth over fantasy. You'll know you've truly let go when you stop needing closure from them because you've given it to yourself. When you no longer wait for an apology that may never come. When you can think of them without bitterness, but also without longing. Here's what happens when you finally release them. You reclaim your time and mental space. You stop living in reaction to their moods and decisions. You discover new opportunities, friendships, and experiences that you couldn't see before. You rebuild your sense of self without their voice in your head. Letting go is an act of strength, not weakness. It's saying, I refuse to settle for being an option when I know I am a priority. And while it may hurt now, it's a short-term pain that protects you from a lifetime of disrespect and disappointment. The reality is, you can love someone deeply and still recognize they're not good for you. You can be grateful for what they taught you and still walk away. Self-love means knowing when to stop watering a dead plant. No matter how beautiful it once was, in the end, you'll see that the act of letting go isn't about losing them. It's about finding yourself again, and that's a trade worth making every single time. 6. How to silence your inner critic. What if I told you that the loudest, most damaging voice you'll ever hear in your life isn't from an enemy, a rival, or even someone who dislikes you? It's from you. That voice in your head that tells you you're not good enough, that you're going to fail, that you shouldn't even bother trying. That's your inner critic. And if you don't learn how to manage it, it will sabotage every step forward you try to take. The strange thing is, that inner critic often sounds like it's trying to help. It uses words like, be realistic, or don't embarrass yourself, or you're not ready yet. But underneath those phrases is fear. Fear of change, fear of risk, fear of stepping into the unknown. That voice convinces you to stay small, to play safe, to live in a box where nothing new can hurt you, but also where nothing new can grow you. The Stoics had a different approach. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." Your inner critic is not an outside force. It's part of your mind. And if you have power over your mind, then you have power over it. The problem is, most of us never challenge it. We take its words as truth instead of opinion, forgetting that just because a thought appears doesn't mean it's valid. One of the most powerful steps you can take is learning to separate yourself from your thoughts. Imagine them as clouds passing in the sky. You're not the clouds, you're the sky itself. The critic may appear, but you don't have to hold on to it. You can watch it come and go without giving it the authority to define you. Silencing your inner critic doesn't mean pretending it's not there. In fact, trying to ignore it completely can make it louder. Instead, you confront it. You ask, is this thought actually true? Is there proof? Or is this just fear wearing the mask of logic? More often than not, you'll find that your critic's words collapse under the weight of evidence. Another technique is to replace self-criticism with self-instruction. Instead of telling yourself, I can't do this, shift to, I don't know how to do this yet, but I can learn. The critic shuts doors. Self-instruction opens them. It changes your focus from your limitations to your potential. It's also important to recognize where your inner critic learned its voice. Sometimes it's the echo of a parent's harsh words, a teacher's doubt, or a past failure that left a scar. When you understand its origins, you stop taking it so personally. You see it for what it is, a learned pattern, not an absolute truth. Self-love plays a huge role here. When you genuinely value yourself, you no longer accept being spoken to, even by your own mind, in ways you wouldn't tolerate from someone else. You start replacing that inner critic with an inner coach, someone who still points out where you can improve, but without tearing you down in the process. And here's the thing, your critic will never fully disappear. It's part of being human, but it can be trained. With time, practice, and conscious effort, you can turn its volume down so low that it becomes background noise instead of the main voice you hear. Practical steps to do this include journaling your thoughts to see patterns and challenge negative beliefs, practicing mindfulness so you can catch the critic's voice the moment it appears. Surrounding yourself with people who speak to you with encouragement and truth, so their voices start to outweigh the critics. Taking consistent action, because action proves the critic wrong more effectively than any argument. Remember this, your inner critic is not there to predict your future. It's there to protect your comfort zone. But comfort zones are where dreams go to die. Every time you silence that voice and move forward anyway, you're telling yourself, I am capable, I am worthy, I am allowed to take up space in this world. One day, you'll look back at the things you've accomplished and realize that the critic was never right. And in that moment, its power over you will shatter completely. Until then, keep showing up, keep speaking to yourself with strength, and keep proving that you are more than your doubts. 7. The role of self-care in building self-worth. When was the last time you truly took care of yourself, not just physically but mentally and emotionally, not just eating